The phone jolted me awake at 6:00 a.m., its shrill ring cutting through the quiet of my city apartment. Mrs. Thompson's voice trembled on the other end, a neighbor who'd known Grandpa Joe for 40 years. "They're building houses on your property," she said, anger shaking her words. "Big yellow machines started digging yesterday. You need to come quick." I rubbed sleep from my eyes, thinking she must be mistaken. Construction crossing a boundary, maybe, but Grandpa's 200-acre farm outside Meadow Creek couldn't be under attack. Mrs. Thompson wasn't one for drama, though. "The Sunny Pines people put up signs, almost 100 houses where your east fields are," she insisted. My stomach twisted as I threw clothes into a suitcase, the city skyline fatting in my rearview mirror as I sped toward the farm, breaking every speed limit on the 5-hour drive. When I turned onto the dirt road to Grandpa's farmhouse, the familiar peace was gone, replaced by the growl of machinery and dust clouds rising over the trees. Cresting the hill, I saw it. Bulldozers and excavators clawing into the soil where corn and soybeans once grew, workers in hard hats swarming like ants, orange spray paint marking the earth. A sign loomed by the road. "Future home of Sunny Pines East. 96 luxury homes starting at $450,000. I parked and approached a woman standing apart, her beige pants and white blouse pristine despite the chaos. She clutched a clipboard, phone pressed to her ear, hair styled to perfection. "Excuse me," I said as she hung up. "What's happening here?" She sized me up, her smile cold. "We're preparing for residential development. Diane Reynolds, Sunny Pines Homeowners Association president." She offered a hand I didn't take. "This is my land," I said, voice steady. "My grandfather, Joe Miller, owned this farm. He died last March, and I inherited it." Her smile didn't waver. "A misunderstanding. Sunny Pines purchased this parcel last year. All permits and approvals are in order." "Impossible," I shot back. "Grandpa would never sell." She tilted her head, almost pitying. "Perhaps he didn't tell you. The sale finalized 9 months ago. We've planned this for years." My mind raced. Grandpa had been sick, but sharp as ever, he'd have told me. "I need to see those documents," I demanded. She handed me a business card. "Contact our legal department, but everything's legitimate. Now, if you'll excuse me, we have a schedule." She turned away, dialing again, as machines devoured the land that had sustained my family for generations. Back at the farmhouse, Mrs. Thompson waited on the porch, iced tea in hand, worry etched into her face. "They started with measuring tools 3 months ago," she said. "Joe was furious, said they had no right, that they were stealing what wasn't theirs." "Did he mention selling?" I asked. "Never," she replied, eyes watering. "He swore this farm would stay in the family. The day before his last hospital trip, he was in his office looking for something to protect it." Grandpa's office sat untouched since his death, a time capsule of pipe tobacco and old books. I hadn't faced it during the funeral, too raw, but now I needed answers. Shelves groaned with almanacs, photo albums, and meticulous records of rainfall, yields, repairs, all in his neat script. Where would he hide property papers? The filing cabinet seemed obvious, but hours of searching yielded nothing about Sunny Pines. Night fell, my eyes burning from faded ink under lamplight. Then a loose floorboard shifted under the desk. Prying it open with a letter opener, I found a metal box, its key dangling beneath the desk. Inside, the deed, his will nomming me heir, yellowed, surveys, and a letter in his handwriting. "If you're reading this, someone's trying to take what's ours," it began. My hands shook as I read on, the trap he'd set unfolding before me. Grandpa's letter trembled in my hands as lamplight flickered across the kitchen table. "Developers have eyed this land for years," he wrote. "They tried to pressure me, but I refused. In my final months, a Sunny Pines man came repeatedly, claiming he needed a signature for a road, easement, different papers each time. I never signed away my land. If they say I did, it's a lie. Check the 1910 survey against county records. The truth is in the boundaries." I dug into the metal box, pulling out the original survey. It showed 280 acres, not the 200 in current records, the eastern boundary stretching far beyond what I'd known. My breath caught. Sunny Pines wasn't just building on my east fields. Part of their existing development, including homes and a clubhouse, sat on my land. Sleep fled that night as I pored over maps, the discrepancy glaring. Decades had shaved off our property, and I'd bet Diane Reynolds knew why. At dawn, I resolved to act, first a lawyer, then a deeper dig into Sunny Pines' game. "I won't let you down," I whispered to the empty farmhouse, folding Grandpa's letter into my pocket. Diane had messed with the wrong family. By 8:00 a.m., I stood outside Walter Franklin's office, Meadow Creek's only property lawyer. His secretary squeezed me in before lunch, and soon I faced a man with thick glasses and a bow tie from another era. "You think Sunny Pines is building on your land?" he asked, peering at me over his desk. I spread the documents: 1910 survey, 1978 update, current county maps. "Compare these," I said. Walter traced the lines, eyebrows climbing. "Highly unusual. Your property extends half a mile east past the construction site into their clubhouse and 20 homes built 5 years ago." He rubbed his eyes. "A dispute this big won't be simple. We need to know how these changes happened." On speaker, the county assessor's office revealed a shock. A 1984 minor 10-foot easement adjustment, then a 1997 slash of 80 acres. The signature on the latter, dated during Grandpa's triple bypass, was a scrawl nothing like his. "That's fraud," Walter said gravely. "Proving it after years won't be easy." "What can we do?" I pressed. "File an emergency injunction to stop construction, then petition to restore the original boundaries. We'll need a surveyor to verify these maps." Walter drafted the filing while I hit the county records office, pulling every Sunny Pines document I could find. Hours later, buried in public records, I struck gold. Sunny Pines was a web of LLCs tied to 6 names: Diane Reynolds, her husband Thomas, County Commissioner James Harris, Planning Board Director Mark Wilson, and 2 others. A $16 million loan from 3 months ago listed my land as collateral. I snapped photos, then drove to the Meadow Creek Gazette. Editor Tanya Williams, who'd known Grandpa, perked up when I mentioned fraud by local officials. "I can't publish without proof," she cautioned, "but I'll dig into the approval process. It moved too fast." Back home, Mrs. Thompson chatted with Mr. Grayson, another neighbor. "Deanne's why I sold," he spat. "Fines for tomatoes, my workshop, rules they invented. I couldn't fight anymore." "How many others?" I asked. "A dozen old-timers in 5 years," he said. "Always below market, always to Sunny Pines-linked companies." A pattern emerged: harass vulnerable owners, force cheap sales, profit millions. Grandpa was their latest mark, but he'd outsmarted them. My phone rang. "Walter. Judge granted the injunction. Construction stops until next week's hearing. Brace yourself, this'll get ugly." I thanked him and drove to the site, court order in hand. Workers packed up as Diane emerged from her SUV, phone to ear. "Construction stops now," I said, handing it over. "Legal boundaries are in dispute." Her composure cracked as she read, then hardened. "Ridiculous, we have approvals." "Based on fraudulent boundaries," I replied. "I have the surveys." Uncertainty flickered in her eyes, quickly masked. "This stunt will cost you," she hissed. "You don't know who you're dealing with?" "Actually, I do," I said, listing her web of connections and the loan. Her knuckles whitened around her phone, but I walked away, her threat. "Everyone has a price," echoing behind me. Grandpa's trap was tightening. Diane's threat lingered as I drove back to the farmhouse, her words, "You're nobody in this town," ringing in my ears. She was right about my outsider status. I'd been gone too long, tied to a city job that kept me from Grandpa's world. But she'd misjudged one thing: Grandpa wasn't nobody. He'd lived in Meadow Creek his whole life, respected by all, and he'd left me more than land. He'd left a legacy of connections. Back in his office, I searched deeper past the surveys. In a Community Picnic 2018 album, I found photos of Grandpa with neighbors, business owners, families, names scribbled on each. These weren't just memories, they were allies. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Parking violation at your property, fine $500, Sunny Pines HOA compliance." Attached was a photo of my car on my own land. It was the harassment pattern Mr. Grayson described, but I knew their playbook now. Night fell and I sat on the porch where Grandpa once spun stories, staring at the silent east fields. The injunction had paused construction, but Diane's connections would strike back. What she didn't know was the ace still hidden in Grandpa's files, documents proving who falsified the boundaries, when, and why. The next morning, engines roared me awake. 3 white SUVs marked Sunny Pines Security blocked my driveway, concrete barriers sealing me in overnight. A guard handed me a thick envelope, a cease and desist from the HOA, claiming my surveys were fake and accusing me of fraud. "You can't be serious," I said. He shrugged. "Just delivering it." They didn't leave, though, and when I tried driving to town, a guard smirked. "This access point's unapproved, closed for safety." Trapped on my own property, I called the sheriff only to hear, "Civil dispute, get a lawyer." Then Diane's name flashed on my phone. "Good morning," she purred. "Enjoying the view? This is harassment," I snapped. "You can't block my access. According to county records, the real ones, that driveway crosses our common areas. We control it." "You know those records are wrong," I said. She laughed. "The county commissioner golfs with my husband. The building inspector's daughter works for me. The water supervisor lives in Sunny Pines. By tomorrow, your farmhouse will have 15 code violations. Your water might shut off and contractors won't touch you. Drop your claims, sign over the acres, and this ends, plus a nice payment." "It's not about money," I told her. "It's always about money, dear. Think it over until tomorrow." True to her word, an inspector arrived by afternoon, citing the farmhouse for wiring, septic, and porch issues. Thousands in fixes, due immediately. Signs sprouted along my property. "Future home of Sunny Pines East." Water dwindled to a trickle. The utility company mumbled about maintenance. Pizza delivery couldn't find my address. Step by step, they isolated me. That night in darkness, I watched security lights sweep the fields, bulldozers poised to resume. A text from Walter hit. "They've countersued, claiming forged documents. Court date in 3 months. They'll keep building." 3 months, half-finished houses by then. I scrolled my contacts, landing on Janet Rivera, a high school friend now at the Gazette. As I debated calling, headlights pierced the dark, a car weaving past the barriers. Gerald Fisher, the HOA treasurer from the meeting, stepped out, nervous. "I shouldn't be here if Diane finds out." "Why are you?" I asked. He handed me a flash drive. "What she's doing isn't right. I've kept the HOA book 7 years. There's things you should see." Inside, over the kitchen table, Gerald's laptop revealed a cesspool. HOA funds siphoned to Diane's family businesses. $427,000 to Sunshine Consulting LLC, her son-in-law's firm, and more to landscaping, security, legal fronts. Special assessments like $2,000 for road repairs that cost half that vanish, he said. "The 20 homes on your land." Residents complain about drainage. Diane promises fixes, but nothing happens. She knew they weren't hers. Texts buzzed from strangers. "We support you, Diane. Find us $500 for vegetables." "Playground removed without notice. Can we help?" Gerald grinned faintly. "I shared your number with friends." Hope sparked. Diane had enemies, and I had Grandpa's trap. "We need a plan," I said. Tomorrow I'd stop playing defense. Morning brought silence. No water, no electricity, just spoiled food in a warm fridge. Diane's strategy was clear: make life unbearable until I buckled. She'd underestimated me. I grabbed my notebook and headed to Mrs. Thompson's, dodging the security SUVs still lurking. She answered in a flowered housecoat, gasping, "They shut off your utilities. That's illegal." "So is building on my land," I replied, "but Diane's got county friends. Who else hates the HOA as much as we do?" Her eyes gleamed. "Grab a chair. This'll take a while." She listed 15 names: families fined for mailbox colors, elderly couples threatened with liens over grandkids' visits, a single mom hit with a $900 fee for a toddler's fence. I spent the day knocking on Sunny Pines' doors. At first, people hesitated, fear etched in their faces, but when I showed Grandpa's surveys, hope flickered. Sarah Jenkins invited me in, hands shaking as she poured lemonade. "Diane made my husband dig up our tomatoes, not aesthetically pleasing." A $500 fine. He works 2 jobs. The Patels fought for their porch swing. The Johnsons couldn't paint their door. Trevor Martinez fumed. "It's not just rules, it's unfair enforcement." Diane snaps violation photos. Some get warnings, others instant fines. By sunset, 27 families shared tales of HOA tyranny. Beige houses a uniform prison. I called Walter. "Can we form a competing homeowners association on my land?" "Absolutely," he said. "What about existing homes?" "That's where it gets interesting," I replied. "I need the community center tomorrow night." He laughed. "They'll never let you." "They don't own it. I do, per my property lines." I printed 200 flyers. "Emergency community meeting. Your home may be at risk," with the 1910 survey attached. As darkness fell, the center overflowed. 97 families packed in, standing when chairs ran out. Diane stormed through last, rage twisting her face. "This is unauthorized. Everyone leave." Sarah Jenkins shot up. "Or what? More fines? Haven't you taken enough?" Applause erupted. I stepped forward, hands raised. "I didn't come to cause trouble. I came because my grandfather's land was stolen, but I'm not the only victim." For an hour, residents vented, tears, trembling voices, stories of oppression. Diane sat rigid, texting furiously. "Here's my proposal," I said. We form the Meadow Creek Homeowners Coalition. Together, we negotiate fair property lines, create a community with reasonable rules and transparent finances. Diane leapt up. You can't. They're bound to Sunny Pines by contract. Contracts based on fraudulent ownership aren't valid, I countered. I'm not taking homes, I'm fixing what's broken. The vote was near unanimous. 89 families joined on the spot. As the crowd dispersed, energized, Gerald Fisher approached. The HOA finances don't add up, he whispered. Dues rise, reserves shrink, Diane controls it all. Show me the books, I asked. He nodded. Tomorrow, my office. Diane stormed over, finger jabbing. You've made a terrible mistake. By tomorrow, you'll regret this. I've got the commissioner, police chief, and judge on speed dial. This rebellion ends now. Her threat hung heavy, but she didn't know a Gazette reporter, Janet Rivera, had sat quietly in back, recording every word. My phone buzzed. Walter. Environmental survey results in, you won't believe what's on that land. I smiled. Diane thought she held power, but Grandpa's truth was my weapon, and her threats had just built my trap tighter. Next morning, police cars ringed the farmhouse, Diane beside a uniformed man, Chief Williams. You're trespassing, he announced as I opened the door. I handed him a folder, surveys, deed. I'm the legal owner, Diane snapped. Those aren't verified. A woman stepped from a car, Carolyn Mitchell, county records. They are. We pulled the originals last night after concerning reports. Diane paled. What reports? I gestured inside. Let's discuss over coffee. The kitchen table soon hosted an odd crew, Chief Williams, Carolyn, Walter, and a fuming Diane. Grandpa's trap was springing, and Diane's perfect world was about to crack wide open. The kitchen table groaned under maps and coffee mugs as Carolyn Mitchell spread out the original surveys. The property lines were improperly recorded in 1973, she said, voice clipped. This area, including existing Sunny Pines homes and the new construction, legally belongs to the Richards estate. Chief Williams whistled low. Quite a mistake. Not a mistake, Walter interjected. We have evidence it was deliberate. Diane slammed her hand down. Ridiculous. This is a scam to extort hardworking homeowners. I slid Gerald's financial records toward the chief. Speaking of money, these show 3 years of Sunny Pines HOA accounts. Explain $427,000 transferred to Sunshine Consulting LLC, Diane, registered to your son-in-law. Her jaw tightened. Our legitimate management company. And landscaping, security, maintenance, legal counsel, all to your family's businesses, I added. The chief's eyes darkened as he flipped pages. Ms. Reynolds, we need you at the station, she bristled. Absurd, my husband golfs with Judge Harrington. But as he led her out, protesting, Carolyn turned to me. What now for those homes? No evictions, I assured her. The development stops until we survey the wetlands. By afternoon, construction halted, news vans clogging the street. My phone buzzed with panicked homeowners as I called a town hall at the high school auditorium. Nearly 400 packed in, residents, idled workers, officials, locals. Fear and anger crackled as I took the mic. I'm Alex Richards. This was my grandfather's land. I didn't come for trouble, just to honor his legacy. Shouts cut me off. What about our homes? I'll sue. My savings are in that house. I raised my hands. Please, I'm not taking anything. I've got a solution. The room quieted. First, existing homeowners get legal deeds. No one loses their home. Relief murmured through. Second, the new development redesigns to protect Grandpa's wetlands, critical habitats, and flood barriers. I clicked to his environmental studies. These are home to 3 endangered species. Building theirs illegal under federal law. A man stood. My life savings are in a new lot. What about me? Fair question, I said. A property exchange program. Swap for an equivalent lot in the redesigned plan. No losses. For an hour, I outlined a vision. Balanced homes and nature, transparent rules, fair fees. Sarah Jenkins grabbed the mic. 8 years under Diane, I couldn't paint my door blue, grow tomatoes, or let my kids play past 7:00 p.m. Is that our community? By the end, 300 signed for the Meadow Creek Community Association. Even some of Diane's allies, like Gerald, who'd untangle the finances. Diane's lawyers fought dirty over 6 months, but the evidence, surveys, financials, Grandpa's records, held firm. She took a plea deal on fraud charges, her empire crumbling. A year later, I sat on Grandpa's porch, lemonade from Mrs. Thompson in hand, watching kids bike past houses with doors in every color. The community garden buzzed, Sarah's tomatoes thriving. The farmhouse, now a community center, hosted classes and celebrations. Wetlands gleamed under a conservation easement, trails weaving through with signs about their species. Construction hummed on a smaller, greener development, solar panels glinting. "Your grandfather'd be proud," Mrs. Thompson said, pointing to it. I pulled out a faded notebook, Grandpa's journal from 30 years ago. "He fought developers then, too, over these wetlands," I told her. She smiled. "He said you were stubborn like him, righteous stubborn." A blue heron soared from the marsh, arcing over homes living in harmony with the land. Diane's HOA had tried to steal it, but they'd given me something greater, a community reborn. I pushed open the Sunny Pines Community Center doors that night, heart pounding, folder clutched tight. Nearly 100 chatted inside, sipping punch, eyes on Diane's red-blazered pitch about pools and property values. I strode down the aisle. "Excuse me, I need to speak about this development." Diane's smile faltered, then faked on. "Questions later." "This can't wait," I said, stepping on stage. "I'm Alex Richards. My grandfather owned this land. You're building on what's legally mine." The room erupted as I held up the 1910 and 1978 surveys, proving the 80-acre theft, including 20 homes and their clubhouse. Diane's shock was delicious, but the real trap was yet to spring. The Sunny Pines Community Center buzzed with anticipation as I stood on stage, the crowd's chatter dying under my words. "My name is Alex Richards," I said, voice steady despite the pounding in my chest. "My grandfather owned Willow Creek Farm for 60 years. Diane cut in, smooth and sharp. "The old property we purchased, grateful to develop that eyesore." Murmurs rippled, but I opened my folder. "This is the 1910 survey," I said, holding it high, "and the 1978 update. They show my land extends 80 acres east of current records." I turned to the HOA board, placing copies before them. "You're building on my property and not just the new development. 20 existing homes and your clubhouse sit on my land, too." The room exploded, voices shouting, a chair clattering. Diane snatched a survey, red-faced. "Ridiculous, we have permits, sold lots, construction started." "Based on incorrect lines," I replied calmly. "I've filed to stop it." Gerald Fisher, the treasurer, whispered loudly, "Diane, these markers match the old creek bed, they look real." She yanked the papers away. "A trick for money, we'll fight this." I pulled my final document. "Here's something else, your house, Diane, sits entirely on my land." Silence fell, heavy and electric. People exchanged wide-eyed glances. 20 families might not own their homes. A man in back stood. "Are we losing our houses?" Before I could answer, Diane slammed the podium. "Meeting, over, everyone out." As the crowd shuffled away, whispering, Rachel Winters touched my arm. "I put my life savings into a new lot. What happens to me?" Her worry hit me hard. "I'm not here to hurt people," I said. "This is about fixing a wrong." Diane hissed beside us, "Don't listen to him, you don't know who you're messing with." Her threat lingered as she stormed off, leaving me alone in the emptying room. Through the windows, homeowners clustered in the lot, faces tight with fear. Walter texted, "How'd it go?" "They know now," I replied. "Get ready." I hadn't expected the human cost to feel so real. These weren't just lines on a map, but dreams. Diane wouldn't go quietly, though, and I wasn't sure I was ready for her counterattack. Engines woke me at dawn. 3 Sunny Pines security SUVs blocked my driveway, concrete barriers in place. A guard handed me a cease and desist, accusing me of fraud and demanding damages. "You can't be serious," I said. He shrugged, and they stayed, trapping me. Diane called, voice syrupy. "Enjoying the view? That driveway's on our common areas. We control it. The commissioner, inspector, water supervisor, they're mine. Tomorrow, code violations hit, water's off, contractors ghost you. Drop your claims, sign over the acres, and it stops, plus payment." "It's not about money," I shot back. "It's always about money," she said. "Until tomorrow." By afternoon, an inspector cited my farmhouse for wiring, septic railings, thousands in fixes. Signs sprouted, "Sunny Pines East." Water trickled out, utilities dodged me, pizza couldn't find me. That night, Walter texted, "They countersued, forged documents claim, court in 3 months, they'll build meantime." 3 months too late. Then Gerald Fisher arrived, flash drive in hand. "Diane's wrong, I've got 7 years of HOA books." At the kitchen table, Gerald's records exposed a racket. $427,000 to Diane's son-in-law's LLC, inflated contracts to her family, missing reserve funds. "Special assessments, $2,000 for roads that cost half vanish," he said. "The 20 homes on your land, drainage issues ignored, Diane knew they weren't hers." Texts flooded from residents. Find $500 for vegetables. Can we help? Playground gone. We're with you. Gerald grinned. I shared your number. Hope flared. Diane had enemies. We need a plan, I said. Next day, water and power cut. I visited Mrs. Thompson. Who else hates the HOA? She gave 15 names, fined families, harassed elders. I knocked on doors. Sarah Jenkins, the Patels, the Johnsons shared tales of tyranny. By sunset, 27 families rallied. Diane thought she'd isolated me, but Grandpa's trap was tightening. She just handed me an army. Darkness cloaked the farmhouse, no hum of electricity or drip of water, just the silence of Diane's siege. She thought cutting me off would break me, but it fueled me instead. I grabbed my notebook and slipped out past the lurking security SUVs to Mrs. Thompson's. They shut off everything, she said, horrified. So is building on my land, I replied. I need allies. Who's fed up with the HOA? She listed 15 families, tales of petty fines and harassment spilling out. I spent the day canvassing Sunny Pines, knocking on doors. Hesitation melted into hope as I showed Grandpa's surveys. Sarah Jenkins poured lemonade, trembling. Diane forced us to rip out tomatoes, $500 fine. My husband stretched thin. The Patels fought over a porch swing. The Johnsons couldn't paint their door. Trevor Martinez growled, It's unfair. Diane picks who gets fined. 27 families joined me by dusk, their beige homes a testament to her control. I called Walter. Can we form a new HOA on my land? Yes, he said, even for existing homes. That's the fun part, I grinned. Book the community center tomorrow, I own it. I printed 200 flyers. Emergency community meeting, your home may be at risk, with the 1910 survey. The center overflowed that night, 97 families crammed in. Diane burst through, furious. Unauthorized leave, Sarah shot up. Or what, more fines? Cheers erupted. I took the front. I came for my grandfather's stolen land, but your victims too. For an hour, they poured out stories, tears, anger, years of HOA abuse. Diane texted furiously in back. We formed the Meadow Creek Homeowners Coalition, I proposed. Fair property lines, reasonable rules, transparent finances. Diane shouted, They're contracted to Sunny Pines. Not on fraudulent ownership, I said. I'm fixing this, not breaking it. 89 families voted yes, hope igniting. Gerald whispered after, HOA finances are off, dues up, reserves down. Diane locks me out. Show me tomorrow, I said. Diane jabbed a finger at me. You'll regret this. I've got the commissioner, police judge. This ends now. But Janet Rivera, Gazette reporter, had recorded it all from the shadows. Walter texted, Environmental survey in big news on that land. Diane's threats built my trap tighter. Police cars ringed the farmhouse at dawn, Diane beside Chief Williams. You're trespassing, he said. I handed him the surveys and deed. I'm the owner, Diane snapped, unverified. Carolyn Mitchell from County Records stepped up. Verified, pulled last night after reports. Diane paled. What reports? Inside, I said. Coffee, on. The kitchen hosted Chief Williams, Carolyn, Walter, and a seething Diane. Carolyn laid out maps. Boundaries misrecorded in 1973. This is Richard's land, including Sunny Pines homes and construction. Walter added, deliberate. Diane pounded the table. A scam, I slid Gerald's records over. Explain $427,000 to your son-in-law's LLC family businesses bleeding the HOA dry. The chief's face hardened. Ms. Reynolds, station now. She sputtered. My husband knows Judge Harrington, but he let her out. Carolyn asked, the homes. No evictions, I said. Development stops for wetland surveys. News vans swarmed by afternoon, construction stalled. I called a town hall, 400 packed the high school auditorium, homeowners, workers, officials. I'm Alex Richards, I began. I'm honoring my grandfather, not causing trouble. Shouts, our homes. My savings, cut through. Existing owners get deeds, no losses, I said. New development redesigns around wetlands, endangered species make it illegal otherwise. I showed Grandpa's studies. Property swaps for new lots, no one's out. Sarah Jenkins took the mic. 8 years of Diane's rules, no blue doors, no tomatoes, no kids playing late. Is that what we want? Over 300 signed for the Meadow Creek Community Association, even Gerald unraveling the financial mess. Diane's lawyers fought 6 months, but the evidence crushed them. She plea-dealt on fraud. A year later, I sat on Grandpa's porch, watching a reborn community take shape, his trap proving stronger than her power. A year later, I sat on Grandpa's porch, lemonade from Mrs. Thompson cool in my hand, the valley alive with color and sound. Kids pedaled bikes past houses with doors painted red, blue, yellow, freed from Sunny Pines' beige tyranny. Beyond, the community garden thrived, Sarah Jenkins, tomatoes towering as neighbors swapped tips. The farmhouse hummed as our community center, hosting classes and potlucks, its walls echoing with laughter. In the distance, wetlands shimmered under a conservation easement, trails winding through, signs nomming endangered species Grandpa had fought to save. Construction resumed on a smaller scale, modest homes with solar panels, green spaces woven in proof a community could balance nature and living. "Your grandfather'd burst with pride," Mrs. Thompson said, nodding at it. I pulled a faded notebook from my pocket, his journal 30 years old. "He battled developers back then too over these wetlands," I told her. She grinned. "Said you were stubborn like him, righteous stubborn." A blue heron lifted from the marsh, soaring over homes now in harmony with the land. Diane's fall had been swift after that kitchen showdown. The evidence, surveys, financials, Grandpa's records buried her lawyer's tricks. She plea-dealt on fraud charges, her web of LLCs and county cronies unraveling. The Meadow Creek Community Association took root fast, 300 strong from that town hall night. Gerald untangled the HOA's books, exposing years of theft. Homeowners got restitution, though modest. Sarah painted her door blue the next week. The Patels hung their swing. The Johnsons planted a garden, small victories stacking up. I'd faced the auditorium crowd with a promise. No evictions, fair swaps for new lots, a redesign honoring the wetlands. It wasn't easy, months of surveys, legal wrangling, tense meetings, but we'd done it. The Gazette ran Janet Rivera's story, Diane's recorded threats front-page news, turning public tide. Even Chief Williams, once in her pocket, enforced the halt, muttering, "Golf don't trump law." Now dusk settled over the farm, fireflies sparking above the fields. The wooden sign, Willow Creek Farm, Est 1910, stood at the gate, a quiet claim to what Grandpa had built. His letter still rode in my pocket, a talisman. "The truth is in the boundaries." He set the trap decades ago, documenting every shady deal, every forged line, waiting for me to spring it. Diane thought she'd faced a grieving outsider. She'd battled his ghost instead, a farmer who'd outsmarted her from the grave. That community meeting, her shocked face when I revealed the surveys, was just the start. Her own threats and greed tightened the noose. "Sometimes the best trap isn't catching someone wrong," I mused aloud, echoing Grandpa's wisdom. "It's showing them a better way." Mrs. Thompson nodded. "She tried to steal your land, gave you something bigger." My city job felt distant now, replaced by this. A legacy reclaimed, a community reborn. The new development grew slowly, each home a nod to fairness, not profit. Wetlands trails drew birdwatchers, kids learning frog calls from signs I'd helped write. The center hosted a vote last week. New bylaws, transparent fees, no more fines for tomatoes. Rachel Winters, who'd feared losing her lot, swapped it for one near the garden, smiling as she planted flowers. Diane's HOA had crumbled, but what rose in its place was ours, built on trust. I stood stretching as stars pierced the sky. The farm's 280 acres breathed around me, untouchable now, a promise kept to Grandpa in generations past. He'd always said truth was the strongest weapon. I'd wielded it not just to win, but to heal. Sunny Pines had fallen, and from its ashes, Meadow Creek rose, a testament to what one stubborn farmer and his grandson could do against all odds.